Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Rogue Report podcast. My name is Matt, and today I want to talk about a trip that I just took. But I will say that I do appreciate people stopping by this channel and giving me the views and the looks. Obviously, I'm still trying to grow into something bigger. So if you wouldn't mind, please sharing this channel. Share this episode, maybe something from SCP or any of the gameplay videos. It would be much, much appreciated. I did miss an episode last week, and that was because I was actually on that trip. As you well know, hopefully by now, is that we live not too far away from the city of Pittsburgh. Me and Anna actually got married almost 2 years ago now, and within the year that we got married in 2023, up until August of 2024 is when we had our wedding reception. Ever since then, we haven't really taken a trip, just the two of us, like a little honeymoon trip. I don't know if that's necessarily what this was for us, but for just the two of us, we had such a great time because we decided just to go up to the city of Erie. So the trip that we took, probably about a 2.5 hour road trip up to Erie. I feel like one of the things too is like I haven't really been up there in a long time. Whether I haven't been up there in a long time or I haven't been there, period. I remember taking a trip with me, my brother, and a bunch of our friends. We just decided to hijack our mother's van. It was like a bunch of us. There was like at least 8 of us that we went to a state park or something. I wanted to say that it was somewhere near Erie, but I don't know where this trip took place because I remember we invented some weird frisbee throwing game where 3 people, it was like teams of 3, okay? And if you can imagine this, standing at least 10 to 15 feet apart from each other. Kind of like how you would play horseshoes, but this game didn't make any sense, but or at least now, I'm trying to remember the exact rules for it. But we would throw frisbees, but not just one. We would throw 2 of them, and every time you would throw, obviously you're trying to throw 2 at the same time and make them at least float. 2 people at the other side of you are your teammates. There's 3 people across from you, 15 feet the other side of you. And you're trying to throw your 2 frisbees, and then at least one person catches one and the other person catches the other, or the one person catches both of them. We had a roll too, I think. It was if you caught both frisbees at the same time with one hand, that was an extra point or something. I thought that was in Erie. I don't remember exactly where that was, but that was also a nice little place. It was somewhere like a state park. Now, we decided just to take that small trip because, this is another thing that I've mentioned before. I do not drive a vehicle, so it is big on Anna. If we're going to take a road trip, then she's going to do all of the driving, and I feel bad for that, but at the same time, neither one of us want to get on a plane and travel either. It's it's a rational fear of just heights and shit like that. We've never done that. I'm sure once we get over our bullshit here in the next couple of years, I'm sure that we'll be taking a flight, which is funny because this is a part of the story anyway. I'm just going to dive right into it. So we had left, took our drive up there, and by the time that we actually got up there, we tended to leave a little bit earlier than our check-in time for our hotel. I think our room was actually ready probably an hour and a half before it was supposed to be, which was nice. But when we got up to Erie, the first thing that we did was we didn't even go towards the hotel. We actually stopped a little bit farther away. We went to the Erie Zoo. Oddly enough, I think it's the only other zoo that I've ever been at besides the one in Pittsburgh. And the massive difference between, I'm not going to sit there and say that the Erie Zoo's not Like, it gave me like a weird vibe. It was almost like a petting zoo vibe versus an actual zoo vibe. But at the same time, it's just something different that I think I've never seen before or whatever. I'm always used to seeing this massive, massive place in Pittsburgh. If you've never been to the Pittsburgh Zoo, it's huge. Our zoo is huge, and I didn't realize that. It's apparently it's one of the biggest ones. Actually, let me look that up real quick because I didn't even think about pulling that up. Pittsburgh Zoo and PBG. The zoo sits on 77 acres of park where it exhibits more than 4,000 animals representing 475 species, including 20 threatened or endangered species. Oh, it's just the Pittsburgh Zoo and Aquarium, the PBG Aquarium. I didn't realize they dropped that part, which is whatever. Once we got to the Erie Zoo, I was actually I was impressed by, the fact that it wasn't super small, because that said 40 some acres. This is okay. So that's my point right there. I remember walking around the entire place down there and I was like, oh, this is a lot smaller than I thought it would have been. Being around since the early 1900s, and I'm pretty sure this was publicly funded, or at least Anna said that, and I believe her. Oh, since 1964, the zoo has been owned by the Erie Municipal Park Authority, which leases the zoo back to the city of Erie. So the city owns its own zoo, which I don't think that's the way that the Pittsburgh Zoo runs. But they totally, yeah, like it's your typical zoo animals. They had a lot of different cats. They had a fucking insane selection of monkeys, lions, saw gators, there was llamas. There was actually a really cool section where you can just walk through. There were the smaller species of kangaroos. They weren't red kangaroos, I believe. Like those are the ones that grow to be like 7 feet tall and they kick the living shit out of you. Not those big ones, but there was like the smaller ones, and it's they were all like super chill. You were able just to like walk through and like basically stand right next to one. But if they're like behind like wires or whatever, the little path or something, if they're in their dirt and they're in their space, you don't go across that line. But if they come across the line, that's kind of okay, but kind of want to be careful with them. Obviously, you don't want to get hurt, or you don't want to hurt them. Saw a big tortoise, which the guy in the video that I took, the guy's sitting there and he's counting, and I can't tell if this is an actual thing, but I don't want to discredit this man because I don't know who the hell he was. He was just a random stranger. He was counting the different, I just want to call them circles. I don't know what else to call them, but if you look at the back of a tortoise's shell, apparently you can tell how old it is just by counting the different like spots and stuff that are on the shell. And if that's real, I learned that from that guy that day. They had a big ass rhino. That was pretty cool. Just visiting the zoo in particular was kind of mind blowing, just for what I'm used to seeing, which is a lot more. And I'm not discrediting the Erie Zoo. I like the fact that it is owned by the city and it's taken care of by the city, and I think that's actually really cool. But let's move on to the next tier, because arriving into where we were staying, if you're familiar with Erie, we stayed right there on Dobbins Landing at a hotel called the Sheraton, I believe. At one point, I was like, I feel like I'm so out of place here. I don't know why, but I feel so bad for everybody that has to put up with me. Get into our hotel, and once we checked in and got our bags, we have a luggage cart and everything, and we have to go to the top floor. And this floor, you can't go to our floor unless you have the key card for the elevator. Like every other floor you can go to on the elevator. But once you press our floor number, you have to swipe your card in the reader, so it takes you to the floor, because we didn't realize, or at least I didn't realize this part. But part of our amenities, or whatever you want to call it, was the club level access, which As soon as the elevator doors open, we were like, we're not supposed to be here. This is not our floor. Where are the rooms? Because as soon as you get out of the elevators, it's like this little lounge area with, this table that can fit up to maybe like 6 people. You got tables over here. You got this nice little bar that looks out over to the marina. There's like a public computer that everybody can use. Coffee set up, an espresso machine, a refrigerator with fucking drinks in it, chip bags and all this crap's just sitting around. And we were like, oh, yeah, we're not supposed to be here. But then we got back on the elevator, which was really funny. We went down a level and we were like, no, this is the 7th floor, so this is the 700 room, so we're totally on the upper floor here. Go and find our room, get settled in, everything's super nice. Actually, you know what? Before we even went to the hotel, like after we left the zoo, we went over to a restaurant right there on Dobbins Landing called the Smuggler's Wharf. I think it's like a well-known place. People would go there a lot. The decor, obviously, like me being a restaurant guy, the decor for the outside wasn't like my favorite thing. But it was like you're sitting in like a fucking garden. But there's like vines and flowers and everything hanging around there. I mean, if they would have asked, which I'm pretty sure they might have asked, I didn't want to sit outside, which is cool because like all that stuff that's just there, I feel like it would attract stuff that I don't want around my food. Sitting outside anywhere to eat food and dine it's the same thing as basically like cooking out at a barbecue or anything like that, but I don't know why I don't like it as much. I guess it's okay, but even like, yeah, especially in that setting where there's all these flowers and plants and stuff, you're right next to the bay, seagulls involved and shit like that, it's kind of annoying. I had a bad experience at this restaurant just because of the fact that I am who I am and what I do for a living when it came to being in the restaurant and being the manager of a restaurant. We sat down and, the manager himself, and he was perfectly fine seating us. And then we had we had given our drink orders to the server, and she walked away. And then another like table of like 3 or 4 people came in, and the manager was going to sit them down like right next to us. And I was like, that doesn't seem correct. Why don't you sit them somewhere else instead of right next to us? To which the people that were sitting down calmly and nicely asked this man to sit them at another table so they can have a better view of the bay. And he let out this massive sigh of disappointment or something, like where it was just such a burden for the manager of the restaurant to do his job and say, oh, sure, no problem, right this way. He went, yeah, sure, follow me right over here. Like it was the worst thing that somebody could have asked this man. The blood that boiled, I went from perfectly fine to I'm going to smash your head off of the table, sir. You don't talk like that. This is your job. Be professional. And it's like, even if I feel like my wife is not a fucking manager. She's really never, I don't think she's ever worked in a restaurant before, but she even knows better that that's not how you treat people. She looked at me and was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, I talked this place up so much and now it's just so bad. I'm like, we didn't even get her food yet. And this guy just made it so much worse. Thank God our server was just like the happiest person in the world that day too. Like, oh my God. But shout out to the it's not a shout out, it's more like a call out to the manager to the Smuggler's Wharf in Erie. Cheer up, bud. Yeah, everything will get better. But so most of our time was just beep bopping around the bay. We arrived on a Saturday. The Sunday that we were there is the day that we took a trip to Presque Isle. We have It's 3,102 acre plot of Arching Peninsula. 4 miles. Oh, no, wait, that's not it. Oh, this is it. It has 13 miles of roads, 21 miles of recreational trails. So is it 21 miles altogether? From one side of the peninsula to the other? No? Oh, no. Oh, hold on. No, I'm only getting the acres on that part. I was actually, that was one of the questions that I asked Anna. I was, how long was the mile? Maybe, or how long was the aisle? So maybe it's 21 total, if that's including like trails and roads. Which obviously there's a lot to do besides, there's 13 beaches that you can visit. There's the marina that you can visit as well. There's there's obviously things to do. There's swimming, boating, hiking, biking, bird watching, stuff like that. What we did was we basically spent like a couple hours on the island. Anna wanted to go to the shore. She was looking for specific rocks and stuff like that. Using even the UV light. We did do this during the day, which I feel like if we would have went back there a little bit when it was darker, she might have been able to find what she was looking for. But one of those things where I was actually surprised by the time we got there, there wasn't a lot of people there. But then again, we were there, I want to say closer to like 10:30 in the morning. And we were there for maybe 2 hours or so. And once we actually got onto one of the beaches and, did like a walk around and, because we didn't actually sit down and go into the water or anything like that. We actually went up there with the best weather possible. I wasn't expecting for us to just get hit with this cold blast of air, because recently here in the Northeast, it's just been like hovering around like 85, 90 degrees. I'm surprised it's going to get hot here soon. It's already pushing 65 degrees and it's 7 o'clock in the morning. But when we got to the beach and it wasn't so packed, I was like, oh, so maybe we're on the wrong beach. We have to keep walking around and seeing where the people are at, because certain beaches I feel like have let me see something here. I know when I was up there and I was reading about the beaches that they were saying some were more popular, some more had a little bit more space for stuff to do on the sand, like sports and stuff like that, maybe like volleyball nets or something like that, more kid friendly. And being on the beaches that early, I was just amazed. The other thing that I noticed too, because I don't know if this is a thought that I had in my head or Annie even asked me this question, was the fact that Erie, being a city that's not super big, and when it comes to professional sports, what does Erie root for when it comes to professional sports? And I have a kind of a theory on that, but I'm actually going to ask Google. And this is from Reddit, but this is literally with Erie being in between Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Well, that's only, oh yeah, Erie, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. Okay, perfect, because this person had the exact same thought that I did. When it comes to Erie, that's exactly what I thought, because your three major cities that you have that are right there. Because when we were up there, even on the beach, I noticed that there was Bill stuff all over the place. And I went, that honestly makes a lot of sense, because there's no way that it takes hold on a second. That's another good question. Erie to Buffalo. It takes an hour and a half. It would take an hour and a half to get to Erie to Buffalo, which is a shorter drive from Pittsburgh. It takes about another hour to get back to Pittsburgh. And then Cleveland's another hour and a half. So that's really funny that Pittsburgh is actually farthest away from Erie. The other two cities in separate states are way closer. So my whole question is, who do you root for? And right here on this post, it says the NFL, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh each get 40, while Buffalo gets 20. Baseball, I think Pittsburgh has more fans than Cleveland, which is funny because in the city of Pittsburgh, I feel like there are less Pirates fans than there are around the world. I'm not saying that this city gave up on that team, but we're very close to. The NBA is a mix between. This dude says it's a huge miss, even though that the Cavs are so close. The NHL, Pittsburgh 60, Buffalo 40, although I might be being too generous to Buffalo. I was gonna say that if anything, that's the one team that they do have in Erie is the Erie Otters, but they are a AHL team, I believe, or like the same league that the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins are a part of. I could be wrong. I would say though too, if I had to take a guess, up in Erie, when it comes to what league people are into the most, what teams people are into the most, it depends on the league. So football, like the NFL, I would say that there's predominantly a lot more Buffalo Bills fans than there are Steelers fans, just because they're a hot team. There's no way that there's more Browns fans than either other team. Sorry, Cleveland. When it comes to the baseball, I mean, there's no way that there's more Pirates fans in Erie than there are Cleveland fans. What the hell are they? They're not the Indians anymore, because apparently that's frowned upon. Yeah, that's what they are, the Cleveland Guardians. That's a weird name. And then basketball, you only really have the Cavs. I don't think Buffalo has a fucking basketball team. And then, I would say that the Pens win. Oh, this person's actually from Erie, my personal favorites. Browns, Indians, Cavs, Crew, Blue Jackets, Buckeyes. Oh, what the fuck is Crew? Anyway, our time on the island wasn't very very long, but like I said, like we were just like kind of like moving around a little bit, taking a look at stuff. There's the Perry Monument at the end is something that we took a look at. We did not go to the lighthouse. There was a lighthouse there that we didn't bother taking a look at. Actually, I feel like there's two of them. The other park that was a part of, well, not necessarily a part of Prescott Isle, it was just another nearby state park, was the Erie Bluffs. I would have liked to go to that. That would have been cool. But we obviously, the one thing that me and her like to do is not necessarily plan on doing stuff before we get there. It's once you get on a vacation, that's when you start planning your like itinerary. Is like for the next day. Like if you're going up there or going wherever, like, okay, so Monday we're doing this, Tuesday we're doing this, Wednesday we're doing this. Okay, now we get to leave. Once I get to a location, I like to look around and see what's available, and then we could decide what we're going to do. Which, what sucks, because we didn't plan very ahead a couple of times there, which would have been, I guess, our last day there, which was, we only went up for like an extended weekend. We were there, our last like whole day there was a Monday, and a lot of things were closed. Stuff that we had planned to do that day kind of sucked. Like we were going to go to, there's the Maritime Museum, closed. A couple of other restaurants and stuff like that we wanted to try out that ended up being closed as well. But it is what it is. But came back and just relaxed for a little bit, because the next thing that we were going to do was set sail. And this has to be one of the coolest experiences that I've had in a very, very long time, was setting sail on a ship known as the Letty G. Howard. And I got to tell you, I was so blown away by how much I enjoyed this. Now, to get an idea of what the fuck what this experience was like for me in particular. Once we got there, you can see all these people in the bay. The marinas are on the other side of my hotel. So like the front of my hotel is where everybody gets to park their boats and stuff like that. So and then they come around either side of the hotel, basically. Like, I mean, not necessarily our hotel, but close enough to it. So there's just ways around the marina on either side of the bay. And you look out of our hotel window, which we had a bayfront view, and you can see everybody's boats out there. And I remember seeing this big, massive sailboat. And I was like, that's sick. That's so sick. And then I watched it dock right there on the Dobbins Landing dock, like right next to what is known as the Bicentennial Tower. And I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so sick, those people. And then like I remember just seeing a bunch of people getting off the boat. I was like, oh, we can totally go on that boat. We can tour that boat. That's super sick. And then that was the one thing that we were like, yeah, you know what? We're going to do that. So like the day we got there, we saw that and we were like, all right, cool. So after the trip to Presque Isle, we were like, okay, yeah, for sure, we're getting on this boat. And we're sitting there, we're waiting for everybody to gather up, listening to the crew, like, just shoot the shit or whatever. And then we had set sail. It was probably like 2 p.m. or something like that. I just remember being like super excited, getting onto the boat. And we had sat, like me and Anna had sat right next to the captain, which was actually super fun because number one, it was comforting to sit next to him and be right next to him and listen to what he's saying and making sure that everything's cool. And I even had like a view of like the screen to see like how fast we were going and stuff like that. Now, the way that it worked too is there was probably like 20 of us. I want to say there was actually 21 of us to be exact on the tour, which this tour lasted about an hour and a half. Get onto the boat. And he turns on the engines. That helps us just like at least dock off real quick. Sounded like I said dock off. But push off? Is that the way that you would say it? I trust me. This is my 4th time on a boat somewhere. I don't know. Push off, and now we were been on the boat for maybe like 5 minutes. And this dude gives this big spiel about saying, we can set sail a lot faster if you guys help us. And in my brain, like I went from being 33 years old to a child immediately because I stood up going, yeah. I'm like, I am ready to do this. This is what we play for. So there's one side of the boat and the other side of the boat, and we are now raising the sails. And I am way too excited. Me and Anna were having a blast because it was just us, a couple of, other families and stuff like that. I noticed that I'm a bigger dude. Sometimes I forget that I'm a bigger dude. Like I am like 6'4". I'm pretty overweight, but that doesn't mean that I'm not strong. I don't think that I'm super strong, but I also don't know my own strength. Because there I am she's saying, watch my hands and pull as I pull. It's overhand. You don't like pull and then let go and then pull. You one hand here, pull and then grab a head and pull. And watching her, watching everybody else, listening to the commands, I feel so important. It's like part of the crew, part of the ship, part of the crew, part of the ship. And I'm geeked right now to the point where she's like, all right, we got to get it up there. Every time I say, you heave. And then she goes, and we went heave. And it's, so fun. And even the captain was like, we got all the sails up, the massive back sail. Like, I'm actually going to show this picture real quick. The massive sail here on the right. He said that he's like, that was the fastest that thing's ever gone up. You guys are the shit. Because like we set all these sails apparently in like a record timing to where he was like, yeah, that normally doesn't happen. He's like, we're out to this point by now, and this sail is halfway up. Yeah, like just sailing out in the bay for like an hour and a half. Just obviously it's kind of like a sightseeing thing, and then you get the history of the ship, which once again kind of blows my mind. The Letty G. Howard is a wooden schooner built in 1893. The ship that I was on was built in 1893. That is nuts to me. That it's been around that long, and it first of all, the history of the ship is that it was a fishing schooner. That's what it was built to do, was sail actually out of Massachusetts and around New York, and I want to say, let me see actually real quick. The schooner was built at 1893, the shipyard in Excess, Massachusetts. was used to fish red snapper off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. Okay, this is the thing that they had told us personally that I found amazing, because the guy that was the actual captain for us, the captain rotates in and out, I guess, from tour to tour, maybe. I have no idea. I didn't ask. But what he did say is that the captain and the crew, or the captain and a specific crew, got this boat from a harbor in New York, and they fixed it up, did maintenance and I guess you would call it restoration towards the ship so they can sail it. They sailed the ship from New York Harbor to Lake Erie. That doesn't seem like it's geographically possible. However, if you sail north to Canada and then come down through the other Great Lakes, you can make it to Erie by sailing. And it took them, I think he said it took them about a month or a month and a half to sail from New York to Lake Erie, which the Letty G. Howard resides at Dobbins Bay, and that's what it's mainly used for now, is just like an informational tour thing. As the tour, if you're on Dobbins Landing and seeing it sailing around the bay, that's one thing. But I could just imagine being on a random Great Lake somewhere chilling, or close enough to where I just see this ship come out of nowhere, and that's what it's doing, is literally sailing from one location to another. At the dock, I think it would just be called the Effie Morrissey. I might be wrong. But anyway, it's almost the exact same ship. I want to say that it is a tad bit bigger, and this one is a year younger. And they are the last two ships of their kind, and it's mind-blowing to me. They are literally known as sister ships. They were both built in Essex, Massachusetts, a year apart from each other. And they were both designed the exact same way for fishing schooners. And they're the last two of their kind, and they're never together. But for whatever reason, the same trip that they were doing, they did for the Letty G. Howard, where it went from New York to Erie. I think what they had said was the Effie was moving from, I wanted to say it was somewhere in Michigan or something like that. And they were going to New York, or they were going to Maine or something like that. And it was docked in Erie next to the Letty G. And that was the one thing that it seemed like they were super interested in, which made me feel that same emotion, and the fact that these two ships haven't been next to each other. Nobody knows how long it's been since the ships have been next to each other. They used to be around, and the fact that they're as old as they are, over 100 years old, both of them, and the fact that they're still fully operational and zero issues, I guess, and they're able to sail from, take these month-long journeys and shit like that. It's fucking insane to me. It's so cool to me. And to see these people have this actual passion for what they were doing, it was this is super cool. I gotta say, I'll hats off to those guys that are on the Letty G. Howard up in Erie. Super cool, super awesome fucking ship. And I would do that again in a heartbeat. Next thing I want to say is this is the type of shit that I honestly do look forward to when I'm on vacation. But to an extent of just, you go on vacation, you meet people that are possibly also on vacation, or you're running into locals, especially in a town like this. Now, I think I might have jumped over this because I think this would have happened the first night we were there. We had went to a place, massive shout out to a restaurant there, a little bar place called Rum Runners. And it's right there on Dobbins Landing. If you're in the area, go there. And if you like to have some drinks right there on the bay, people's boats are pulling up. That's where like the entrance to the marina is. So you'll see people pulling up either to the marina. Some people's boats people are driving their boats from like other places, whether they're in like Cleveland or whatever, and they're driving over to fucking Erie, docking right there at the bar. Actually, I had said, if you've ever been in Deep Creek, Maryland, there is a bar there, or a nice big, I wouldn't even call it a bar. It's an establishment, if you will. It's called the Honey Honey. And if you go there, it's kind of like the same thing, but a lot massively bigger, where people can like dock up their boats and then get out and, party and drink or whatever, and then get back on the boat and leave. But that's what this place reminded me of, but just a lot smaller, a little bit more compacted or whatever. But it's a fantastic place. So me and Anna go there and we sit down and we're at this little bar, and it's like the section that we're sitting at is like outside, which is nice for what it was. And we're sitting down and we're talking to this guy, and, just the friendly talk, like, are you on vacation? We're on vacation. Are you on vacation? He goes, technically I'm working. We have a layover. And he ended up being a flight attendant. We're like, oh, okay. So you've pretty much just traveled, nonstop. And he goes, yeah, hell yeah. And turns out that you can just meet fucking anybody. I mean, it's a small world. I know, I understand that. Like when people, it's a very small world. Like, but his name, what the fuck was his name? Oh, his name was Jonah. I almost forgot his name. This guy was a flight attendant, and the job that he had before the one that he currently has is that he worked for like, private planes and shit like that. The company that he worked for would get hired by clients to fly on like private jets and, whatever, like sports teams and shit like that. He used to fuck around with sports teams and fly with them. He had said he had gotten a call from his boss, and his boss said, hey, you got a new client. This is a pretty good one. He goes, all right, hit me with it. He's like, you're going to be the personal flight attendant for the campaign. He goes, what campaign? The presidential campaign. He goes, what the shit? He goes, yeah, you're going to be the personal flight attendant for the governor of Minnesota. And he goes, what? He goes, yeah. Tim Walz, the guy who's backing Kamala Harris for vice president? You're going to be his flight attendant. And I was like, bro. And he goes, don't worry, I have receipts. And then shows us pictures of the plane that literally, the side of the jet that says like Harris and Walz on it. So he was the personal flight attendant for the fucking, the should have been, I guess, however you feel about it. But he's still he's still the governor of Minnesota. It was in Minnesota? Yeah. How about that? That's crazy to me. And then, like, he said that, like, dude, like, Tim Walz was super nice, his family super nice and all that crap, and, like, getting, like, to know him personally, like, that's insane to me. And then he had said, like, a couple of different things about, like, he had mentioned to him about how we don't like to fly, or we'd never flown, and we're a little bit afraid of it. And then he even said, he's like, don't worry, I've been there so many times with people, because he even said that he was on a flight with somebody who was, I think, flying alone, and she was not very happy about it, but he was there to help her out with her fears and keep her company and keep her comfortable, to the point where he's like telling her, trust me, everything's gonna be fine, we're gonna be great, and once we land, I'll help you with your stuff, and we can get on our way and all that crap. He's super nice. And then he said he got a call from the captain, and the captain said, hey, we lost our left engine. And homeboy's like, okay, so you want to run that back to me one more time? And then apparently the left engine legit gave out. And he had said that the captain had to divert to another airport so they can land, because their plane was not going to make it to where they wanted to go. And after he told this fucking passenger, like, everything's going to be fine, he got to go back to her and say, so listen, we lost our left engine. Which doesn't sound, it's not as bad as it sounds. We still have the right one, but we are going to be landing here soon. And we're going to do all the safety precautions. So when I say brace, 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 head down, head forward. You're going to listen to me. And then she starts wailing and crying like, I thought you said everything was going to be fine. And he had said it like, well, now we're in this shit, lady. Oh, and then and then he tells us this story about like how his plane dropped like 1,000 feet out of the dead air and like they had to make an emergency landing. And he was all fine about that story. And I'm like, bro, I probably would have shit my entire skeleton out. Like I would have been so afraid of that situation. I am that woman sitting in that seat, losing my mind. Even if the plane landed, I'm not getting back on another one. Anna asked him where he was actually from. And I think he had said that he was from Georgia. And Anna goes, oh, wow, I have family in Georgia. Are you from this particular town in Georgia, the entire state of Georgia? There's so many towns in Georgia. I'm going to choose this one at random. And he goes, yep, that's where I'm from. That's where I graduated high school from. And of course he fucking knows. He knows of Anna's family that live in Georgia. The most random shit. Like, as soon as that happened, I was like, I'm going to go back to the hotel and just fucking sleep this one off. Because, like, that's the type of shit that drives me nuts. When you meet a random stranger just by the chances of talking to this guy what were they? Right? We could have sat on the other side of the bar and not spoken a word to him. And the fact that he is from a specific part of the country where her family lives. To me, it just that shit blows my mind. It's fucking nuts. What else did we do besides eat food and drink? We actually did eat a couple of different places. Like I said, the hotel that we stayed at, the restaurant in that hotel was actually really, really nice. But I would say that I'm going to give it to the other hotel's restaurant that they had. Like we said at the Sheraton, and that was the 245 restaurant. And then the Courtyard had this, like the Shoreline Grill or something like that. I like that place a little bit better. Just like the timing of our trip with the weather. Obviously meeting that guy was awesome. The sailing on the boat thing was fucking... like just like a great experience to the point where I really wish that I can do something like that with a gigantic group of people, because I did see where you can do tours, private tours on the Letty G, and I would love to do something like that. I would love to take all the equipment and all the stuff that I have and make like a video or something for the Letty G. I even thought about that, where if I can get, a decent amount of people there, because it's like, I think it said like you can set sail with like at least 35 people or something like that. And then I think it was close to like $900 or something like that. But that's $25, $26 a person if you get a group together. Which, in all honesty, not bad. Not bad at all. I would do that in a heartbeat. It was just a nice, relaxing time for us, too, because we normally don't do much of nothing when it comes to, like, traveling for us and doing stuff for us. Me and Anna are a lot alike when it comes to, like, treating ourselves fairly. We don't like to do stuff for ourselves. Like, we'll do anything for each other, but when it comes to we justify our own purchases. Like, it's I don't know. We don't like spending our money. We like to earn our money and then save our money and keep it in case we need it. But like, we don't like dropping so much stuff. But then again, in the end, it was just so much worth it, though. And I'll do it again and again and again. Especially with that woman. I love you, babe. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I highly recommend everybody to look up, maybe a trip to there. Look at the Letty G. That's something that that's like the number one thing that I recommend that everybody do, is get aboard the ship and help sail. And it's just super fun. I recommend you, after you get off the ship, go take a walk over to Rum Runners and have yourself a beverage if you would like one. I have a putt-putt. We also did a putt-putt. Anna kicked my ass. I did not expect to be so bad at putt-putt. Oh, my God. It was insane. But I also didn't expect her to just fucking come out of the front nine, just birdie, 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 birdie. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I lose. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Rogue Report podcast. Please check out the other content on the channel. And keep your ear to the ground for the next episode. And until then, we will see you. Bye.